What's good, fams? It's right with Tmac here, and I'm here at our brother from Logan City, Brother Spice. Introduce yourself, my bro.
Let's go, baby. It's Spice 4K, represent all day.
And we're here to bring our podcast, the Ride with Tmac podcast, the episode with our brother Spice, all the way from Logan City, Brisbane, Queensland. This is us. This is what's up. Brother Spice, introduce yourself, brother, to our viewers on the Ride with Tmac.
Oh, it's always the awkwardest question for me, you know what I mean? Because I feel like it's a brag when I start going through, you know, what I'm up to or who I am. But my name's Spice, a labelled artist, self-titled, the owner of Ill Figure Kennels, founder, and also founder and owner of Medi Relief as well as Hi There. Dad of three, and a son, you know. Happy father life, you know, basically, is my biggest achievement. So, yeah, I'll wrap it up and say my name's Spice and I'm a father.
Massive, Brother Spice. Brother Spice, what is your ethnicity and your background, brother?
So, I'm Māori, and then Indigenous and Spanish Colombian.
Wow.
Yeah,
wicked,
bit of a mix, hey?
Bro, wicked. And that's wicked to know that you are of two Indigenous races plus an Indigenous race from South America as well. So that's three in total, brother.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Family reunions are lit, though.
Yeah, hard. Hey, I'm the same too, brother. You know, I'm Māori. My mum's English and she's got Tahitian in there.
Oh.
And my dad is Māori. Māori from New Zealand, brother. But I live here in Brisbane, in your hometown, Logan City, brother.
Oh. Yeah, see, I don't even know to put that in the intro, you know what I mean? Like, a couple of years ago, I guess I would have put in the city where I'm from and all that, you know? But, I guess I'm just 4K bound these days, you know what I mean? As like a whole, instead of, trying to put it down and represent for a hood where my mum rents, you know what I mean? I try to represent as a community now instead of, a small majority of that community, you know what I mean?
Yeah, wicked.
But Logan City, baby, that's where we're from. Shout out to Logan.
Shout out to Logan. And thank you very much, Brother Spice, for coming on board with the Ride with Tmac, brother, reaching out to us and giving us your story today as we cruise through your motherland, your hood, where you're from. And thank you for having not only myself, but my brothers in the back here on the cameras. Thank you too, brothers, Trizzy Trace and Brother B from Hawke's Bay, New Zealand. Now we live here in Queensland, Brisbane. So thank you for coming on our podcast, brother. We appreciate it.
No, thank you for having us, brothers. It's a privilege. You know, I see the vision. I think these guys are going to go really, really fast. So if you've got a story, make sure you reach out to the brothers. Don't be shy. Come say hi. And if you don't follow me already, make sure you get around it on all platforms, baby.
Yeah, 100. Hard out. Brother Spice, we're going to kick a topic off with you, bro.
Yeah, let's get into it.
When you started, where your life started journey, bro, from growing up back in the days, here in Logan, where your life started from a young fella.
Kicking it off from the beginning, eh?
From the beginning, brother, back to where you started, from the family to whatnot, to as we go through the story, bro.
Fuck. All right, so I guess it starts in Woodridge. The first house I remember living in is in Victoria Street, down the back of Woodridge, just near Woodridge North. Then, home life for me as a kid growing up, you know, was blessed. I didn't have dad about. It was just mum, you know, raised me, my brother, and my sister. And he was over in New Zealand breeding himself stupid. I think there's about 9 of us in total. Wow. Yeah, crazy, hey. Got no pull-out game, that man. And, home life was blessed for me, you know. It's like when you grow up with not having stuff, especially if you're taught to appreciate what you have and, you know, show thanks. I didn't really notice that I was lacking anything in life until much later in life, you know what I mean? So growing up for me, nothing really crazy there. Life was blessed, you know, mum worked hard. My mum's biggest thing for me when we were growing up, you know, we had everything we needed. Anything I wanted, I had to get myself. So she's like, I'll help your needs, but you do your wants.
Yeah, wow.
I'm like, okay, sweet. And whenever I'd ask her something, I'd have to really think about it. Okay, so is this something that I want or something that I need? You know, and it gave me a good, I guess, mindset to split the two.
Wow.
Whereas a lot of people don't know how to differentiate a difference between a want and a need.
Yeah, wow.
Because they get emotionally connected to a want and it turns into a need. Did school, you know, with a name like Spice. I got teased crazy, you know what I mean, through primary school. It wasn't really until high school, you know, that life started getting good for me, you know what I mean? It's the unknown unknowns. And I guess we'll touch on that, throughout the whole podcast, really, because that's my whole philosophy. It's the unknown unknowns. If you don't know to ask the question, you don't know that you don't know. And that'll shroud you from such your fullest capability in life, the fullest extent of your possibilities. Because if you don't know, then you simply just don't know. So for me, that's where I really started to figure out, you know, it's the unknown unknowns for me. So as a kid, life was good. I sort of started to, you know, get into a lot of trouble at school with the kids, you know, just teasing me, whatnot. But I was always a high achieving academic, so I'd always finish my work and then I didn't really realize my size, so I started doing Muay Thai, flight training with my uncles and stuff. And then that's where it was sort of fucking game over from there.
True. So, what's saying there, bro? Was home life really good for you growing up with parents and going to school and all that?
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Like, I enjoyed school for the most part, except for the kids. You know what I mean? It was the teasing and the fuckery for me, you know? Like, I've always been very intrigued in learning and knowing stuff, you know? Like, mum reckons I was spelling my name by the age of 3, you know what I mean? Like, some crazy shit, you know?
So you got teased a lot, bro, growing up at school?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Well, Spice Girls were big in the 90s, bro. You know what I'm saying?
True,
like, fuck them motherfuckers. No shade to the Spice Girls. All right. It just fucking should have come with a better name. Not a better name, just a different name. Leave me the fuck alone.
Hey, shout out to the Spice Girls. Back in the day, Tmac used to roll with that type of stuff. I'll be honest. I'll be honest, dude. I'll be honest.
Getting bad in your bedroom, eh? Yo.
My wife, she's a big Spice Girls.
Bro, my missus loves them too, and I still cringe.
All the Aussies, hey, bro, they all got on Spice Girls, hey.
Hard.
100. Hey, brother Spice, you know, growing up here in Logan City, in your time as a kid and whatnot, did you venture out as a young teenager into different things around here?
Yeah, so, like, it wasn't until I hit, like, you know, the year 7, you know what I mean, just before sort of high school that I sort of started getting out and about, you know. I was very happy at home, so I didn't need to go out. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't until I started making friends at school that they were like, oh, you know, come do this after school. I'm like, oh, yo, whatever.
So growing up here in Logan, bro, with all the, I guess, the suppression that's happening in those days into now, is that normalized, bro? That's the question I want to ask. Is that normalized?
I don't know about normalized. I guess it'll depend on who you hang out with and where you're at in life. You know what I mean? Because some people will normalize it.
Yeah.
And then it becomes normal. So again, back to the unknown unknowns. If you're hanging with nothing and nobody but them type of people and it's normal to them, it becomes normal to you too.
Yeah, cool, bro.
Whereas if you stop hanging out with them and then you start hanging out with other people's things that you think will not, I'm not running away. These motherfuckers, this is the hood age. Pay for your petrol.
We're here in Marsden.
7-Eleven, shout out.
7-Eleven, shout out.
Cut the check.
Marsden.
What was I saying?
The normalized, brother.
The normalized, yes. No, because at home, my mum was a worker, you know what I mean? So I never really knew anything else, but hey, you go to school, when you finish school, you get a job. And then when I started hanging out with these people that had never had a fucking job, and their parents never had a job, and their parents' didn't have a job, they just lived off the system, or they sold drugs or some shit, you know what I mean? I was like, oh. And then I seen the cash that they were making, but I seen how they were spending it too. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. What are you hustling for? Like, you're just hustling to hustle. You're not doing it with a way to get out. And I've seen it happen to so many people. They just see the money and they're like, yes, that's what I'm going to do. And they get the money. And once they get the money, they just spend the money. There's no eventuation plan out of it. It's just, that's why it's called a trap, because you're trapped in it and you're trapping over and over and over again. It's a cycle. It's a game. You re-up, you sell, you spend a little, you re-up, you sell, you spend a little. You know, that's the cycle. That's how it fucking goes. And that's why it becomes normal. And then on the back of it, you've got 2 generations of people behind you that only know social welfare. So they say to you, oh, you know, as soon as you turn 16, you can get X, Y, Z payments. If you tell the government, you know, A, B, and C, you'll get X amount of money every fortnight.
Yeah, wow.
And now they're like, oh, yo, so I'll get free money on Centrelink and sell some drugs on the side and live like a fucking man.
Wow.
Now they get trapped. Now they're trapped.
Wow.
Because they don't know anything else.
Yeah, wow.
And the idea of a job to them, because they're going to a job now and they're exchanging time for money, which is very backwards to somebody that is exchanging products for money, because it's retail almost. You know what I mean? So you've never come up with that idea of working and getting money in exchange for your work. You're just more used to getting something, giving it, getting money back instantaneously. That money's there.
Yeah, wow.
There's instantaneous gratification, and that's what people lock onto, that dopamine hit of money.
So obviously coming out of those generation times growing up here in Logan, was it hard, bro? That's the question I want to know. Was it hard?
I don't know any different. And I don't like to sit on it and go, oh, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it was shit. At some points were shit.
In your high school days and going into your teenage days around, like, say, 16 to 21, was that a heavily introduced to, like, drugs, alcohol?
That was my fast track, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a fast track period for me.
That was everything to do with what was happening, going on in your life at a dangerous point?
Well, when I started at Center Ed, I was just doing, you know, what I was doing. But when I started at Center Education Program up here in Kingston, shout out the Christian brothers. They do good shit for the community as well.
Yep. Shout out to them.
We went and I started school there, and it was basically a school full of people just like me.
Wow.
And it wasn't a place that you could just run your mouth, you know what I mean? You'd get tested every time. Every time. If you try to talk shit, you get tested, you know?
Wow.
And it was very segregated. This is what I'm saying, this non-racism, racist shit, because there was an indigenous unit or a black unit and a white unit.
Oh.
And the white kids went to school over here and the black kids went to school over here.
Wow.
And it wasn't until you got to year 11 and 12 that they integrated you back together again.
Wow.
So
was that? So you came from a good upbringing in school time, and then obviously you went off the track.
I skipped a few things. In high school, I did start fighting. Like I said, I started training Muay Thai, and I wasn't taking shit from anybody. Do you know what I mean? I found out how big and strong I was, how much most people just valve bounce. You know what I mean? It's once you press someone, you know what I mean, you find out.
So the school that you went to, where it was so segregated, was it pretty much a trap, brother, or was it deep place?
No, it was really good. It was like it's like a breeding ground, I guess. You get proved there or you fail there. And it depends on who you ask, because I know kids that went there. Well, they're adults now, you know, my age, but I know people that went there that swear up and down that was the worst school they've ever been to, you know what I mean? Some of the worst experiences ever, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I had a great fucking time. I enjoyed it. The teasing really sort of stopped, you know, when I got into, you know, those older grades and I started coming into myself, you know, because I was always sort of too white for the whites, too, you know, black for the, not black enough for the blacks, you know, like it was mixed. So I was always pushed from one group to the other. And then in the end, because I was so friendly with everyone, I had the ability to just mesh with the whole group. And that sort of just further pushed my career doing everything I was doing anyways. But then the school introduced us to music. And that's where everything really came full circle. You know what I mean? Like when you hear people talk about, oh, you know, music really influences kids to do X, Y, and Z. It fucking it does, man. because I was already living a sort of something lifestyle, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100,
And then
brother.
they had a studio in the school. I'm like, I'm a fucking rapper now, baby. Look at me go.
Yeah, hard.
And that was horrible, you know? Like, horrible for my ego anyways.
Cheer, Brother Spice, we've come to a point now in your podcast where we've talked about your life, bro, growing up as a young kid. We've gone into the school stages, and now we've gone into the high school stages. Brother, what was it like for you coming out of high school, that transition from those 18 stages to your 20s, bro?
It was crazy because at school, we were all so tight as friends, you know what I mean? Like all the friends I had, because we were all so similar in the stuff we were doing, you know? But again, it's that natural progression of things. My other mates were ready to move into whatever, you know? So from high school, it was like people dying, people going to jail for a long time, you know? One of my best mates got done for murder. So it was like really crazy. And then all of a sudden it went from like this big group to having nobody, you know, and feeling like I'm out here by myself, you know, doing this. So I sort of just ended up backing out of it altogether, you know. Started working and stiffing on, you know. But in between that, I guess, keep true to the story. In between that, I ended up, you know, on the ice, pretty fucking heavy, you know. I think my longest awake time was nearly like, say 18 days, give or take.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So my mate was going to jail for murder. And that was really when I started hitting the drugs hard, because he's like, fuck, I'm going away for life, boys, you know?
Yeah.
And like when he rocked up at the house, he's like, you know, what do? I'm like, for starters, not be here. You know, like,
Yeah,
get
wow.
the fuck out of my house. And then basically got on a massive bender, you know? And then never coming back from that either, you know? Like after you stay awake for so long, there's a part of you that never really comes back, you know? You sort of fried out of yourself.
Yeah,
Makes you a bit numb to certain situations and certain protocols where, you know, your morals would have steered you away from that once upon a time, you know?
So you would have fell into many of traps, bro, growing up at that stage, eh?
Yeah, bro. It was from one trap to the other, you know? It was like a monopoly of them. You know, you go from one, you know, group of people, they, you know, run down and go on, you know, you're out still, so you go hang out with the next group, and it's always the same shit, different circle, you know?
Did the drug ice really affect you mentally too, brother?
Look, I'd like to say no, but obviously to some point, yeah. When I stayed awake that long, you know, I feel like there's a certain part of me that never came back, you know?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But
okay.
as opposed to getting off of it, you know what I mean? Like I know people that have got off of it and still act fucking like they're on the gear all the time, you know? For me, nah. I came off it and I was all good.
Yeah, nice.
Luckily,
bro.
you know.
Nice. There you go, finally, brother Spice has come off that, you know. He's
11 years clean.
Wow, 11 years clean. And then that's massive to know, you know, that a brother here that can talk about a story and coming from bad pasts with drugs and the drug ice, bro. That's massive to hear that you got yourself clean from it.
Yeah, it was crazy because when we were young, like ice coming into Logan when I was younger, it was like we were the first generation to really have it available, you know? Like you didn't have any blueprint of, you know, like you know what happens when people take heroin, you know what I mean? You've seen what happens, you have the blueprint there, you know, don't touch it.
I never really got introduced, or never been introduced to heroin, but I've only heard stories about it.
Well, the stories, you know what I mean? Well, that's what I mean. I've never been onto heroin. I don't like downers, I like uppers. You know, that's always been my bag. Yeah. But it's more of a reference point, you know, like you've heard the stories, but with us, when we were first getting into it, there was no stories.
Yeah, okay.
It was just labeled to us as way better than speed.
Yeah, wow.
You know, because everything started with speed and pills, you know, a little bit of coke.
Yeah.
Coke wasn't anything back in the days, really. It was always really just speed and pills, and then ice came about.
Yeah, well.
And everyone wanted the shard because they could smoke it.
Yeah, well. Wow, brother. That's massive. So, brother Spice, you know, we've talked about your 20 days, you know, all your drug and alcohol problems that you've had, and redefining yourself where you are now clean, now sober from that massive drug. bro, moving away from the substances, brother, I know that you've shared a story with me, to me, about a journey in life that you took, bro. A journey in life that saved you from those things. A journey in life about music, brother. You've got a
Yeah.
love for music. Elaborate that for us, my bro.
Well, it started at school. In high school at Centre Ed, you know, they had a state-of-the-art studio in there, so we were blessed to go in there and have a tutu, you know. So it was always there in the back of my mind, you know, like, let's have a crack, you know, because at school, the parts that I did skip over was that I was in a crew called Beyond Therapy, and we almost got pressed to Sony BMG. But there was like some Diddy shit going on, and we were young, and my bros were onto it. They were like, "Nah, we don't want to come to your weird parties," you know. It was weird, so we backed out of that, and it was just the drugs on from there, you know. So fast forward, you know, I'm homeless, and I met this dude, and he was just gun at stealing stuff, you know. But he was also a rapper, so I used to just sort of freestyle with him, and he'd rack stuff from the shops. We'd go cook barbecues and do this, that, the other, and we hit a lick. And come up with some cash, and he just literally split the cash with me, handed me a wad of hundreds like that. And at that point, I was like, fuck, this is the win I've been needing, you know? Like, I know how to make money, you know? It's just getting the money. You know, I went downhill, spent everything, crashed out, homeless, got a whack of $100 bills. I'm like, that's me, done, you know? Went, found a place, paid up all the money I could to get the bond down, got an apartment, started working. And then I met these dudes that were recording regularly. And what they'd do is they'd freestyle on their lunch breaks, you know, and I was that dude that just sort of sat in the corner. I'm like, fucking whack, you know, like, this is shit. And I said something one day. I'm like, fuck, that's terrible, you know, and the bro called me out. He's like, well, fucking, let's hear better. And I fucking dropped some shit, and they recorded it, and they put it up on YouTube, you know, and it took off. So I was like, oh, yo, we'll crack back at the music, you know. They took me to the studio, and that was it. You know, I really locked in. That was when I decided that there's no more drugs. You know what I mean?
Wow.
No, nothing.
Wow.
Like, we're going to have a crack. Started pushing the music really hard. Started doing a lot of, you know, freestyle battle rap stuff. But then, like, I fell into the trap of working, you know what I mean? And that's what, like, the music saved me and, like, brought me full circle, because, like, yes, I'm going to do this, you know, this music thing. But then I realized that because I'm not dealing anymore, there's no money coming, and I had to work on the side. And then that's when work took over, and I had a steady flow of things, you know, and it's sort of like, okay, I got a rhythm here. Going to the studio is a bit too much now, you know, and that sort of fell back. Started working as a senior paralegal. And then one of the dudes there found out I was a rapper as well. And he's like, here, man, here's 10 grand. I believe in you.
Wow.
And I was like,
Wow.
What? He's like, here's 10 grand. I believe in you. So I went and got a face tattoo, quit my job. And I cut an EP I self-titled it Spice. And at this time I was Spice the rapper. And I released a song on that EP called Round the Twist, where I sampled the song.
Yeah, I've done
song.
some research on that Round the Twist, but
Yeah.
Elaborate on it.
So Round the Twist is a little bit of a whack show that was around when I was a kid. And I used the theme song out of that and sampled it and cut a hip hop track over that. And the whole theme of the song was like, have you ever, you know, lived a good life, but what have you done to live that life, you know? And it went off, you know, it was nearly like at 10 million streams over in the UK, starting to really pick up over here. And in the midst of everything, when I got the sample rights from the guy who actually recorded it and owned it, he said, you can use it, but get the licensing done. As a new artist, I thought him saying that I could use it was enough.
Yeah, okay.
He ended up releasing it back to ABC.
Yeah.
And they put Round the Twist back on TV in amongst me releasing this. So that breached copyright standards. They took everything off and hit me with nearly 36 gigabytes of copyright infringement law, saying, next time you think about sampling something, maybe you should read this shit. Took all my royalties, took everything down. And my producer at the time was like, oh, I don't want none of that smoke, you know, because the big dogs come in and they literally took everything down.
Did you know much about that sort of stuff back then?
I had no
bro?
fucking idea. A lot of what I do is just like, let's go.
Yep.
You know? So after that, yeah, I just stopped the music, you know, and that was when COVID sort of started kicking off. and it was hard to perform and to go and do gigs and stuff, because the people still sort of knew the song. So I was able to go and do live gigs and still get money from it, whatever. And then COVID really stopped everything. So I stopped. And that's when I started, doing asbestos work. Had 3 kids and then hurt myself working. And that gave me the time off with some work cover to get back in the studio, recover my shoulder, and just really start pushing.
Oh. So Brother Spice was saying this about your music and how it blew up back then over in Europe. And you saying you knew nothing about the copyrights. Bro, what did these fellas do to you mentally, brother?
Mentally, it was a kick in the guts, you know what I mean? Because I tried to message them, email them, talk to them, level with them as humans, say, look, I'm an independent artist. I've paid for all of this out of my own pocket. The EP cost me $5,000 out of the 10, and then I had to fire the producer over all this. I'm like, come on, give it to me, like you can have all the royalties, you can have everything. I'll sign a thing saying we're not associated, whatever. I was basically begging, and they're just like, no. Too far away from the original feel and vibe of the song. And I'm like, well, that's what you do when you sample something and remix it. It's a remix.
Yes. Because I do have a music, I do have some knowledge about music, I would say. And I thought if you do sample a song and you remix it, but also maybe knowing that you have to send a message or something to them as well, eh? Is that true?
Yeah, so you have to apply for copyright licensing.
Yeah,
so it's a licensing fee. So they'll ask you for either a percentage or upfront fee or both. You know what I mean? When I approached the producer of the song, the guy who wrote it, mastered it, all that, he still owned the song. So he was a smart man. He never sold his masters to anybody. He just leased them.
Yep.
So when it came out of lease, I was in that period where I was like, yo, I want to use this. He's like, go hard. And I should have got the licensing, but I didn't. You know what I mean? I didn't think anything of it. You know what I mean? I honestly didn't think the song was going to take off, because I remember going to sleep one night and it was at like 10,000 streams. Woke up in the next morning, it was at like 950,000. I'm like, Mama, we made it.
And bro, where was this song posted on?
Spotify, Apple, everywhere. All major platforms. All major platforms.
And what was the name of the song, bro?
So it was RTT.
RTT.
Around the Twist, but I shortened it to RTT, yeah. Yeah,
okay. And this song, bro, if you had have got the song out there, what kind of what kind of revenue or what kind of thing would have brought to your lifestyle at that time?
Man, at that time, it would have been life-changing, you know what I mean? Especially to hit the 10 million streams, because I was going to take a screenshot at like 900, 9 point something, and I was like, no, I'll wait till tomorrow. And I'll take the screenshot at 10 million and do a mad post, it'll be people like, what the fuck? And then I woke up in the morning, look, I get the shakes thinking about it. I woke up, I checked my Spotify artist and it was gone. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm trying to email and do all this shit. Spotify's like, yeah, it's been taken down, I'm like, what? It's only been up for like not even, would have been 12 months at the time. So yeah, it was terrible for me. Like, it was a big kick in the guts, I was just like, well, fuck it,
Hard, bro.
Gave it away pretty much.
Hard.
And that's when, I started looking into other stuff.
Yeah, hard. So with that saying, bro, with the music industry, what is your turning point now with it?
I got money now.
So you got money, bro, but what is your driving turning point? What is your driving turning point now for music?
I don't want to become another statistic. I want to be remembered in 100 years. I don't want to die and be forgotten, because then I just become another statistic, another nobody. I left a nobody imprint on the world. You know what I mean? I want to make this place remember me when I'm gone. And music is the only way that I can see that happening. Fame, or, you're either loved or a villain. Those are the only two people that are really immortalized. So,
bro, from that song that you produced or that you tried to get out there, but what were some of the lyrics in there? Can you spit a freestyle on there, or can you give us a demo on what those lyrics look like to you?
Yeah, man. So the first verse is, have you ever felt like the king of the world, iced out throne, veneers on the grill? Ever felt like the 2-seat coupe because the range goes better in the hills? Ever felt like this old lady over here? But it's goes into Ever had two bad bitches at the crib getting blown off? Ever felt like a king in the club with the coke man showing mad love? And then, yeah, it goes into some other stuff. But
Yeah, nice, brother. You've got to change your life then and there, eh?
yeah, the trajectory would have been totally different. In hindsight, I was sort of glad because I had my 3 babies off the end, and I don't know if I would have met my partner on that trajectory. Do you know what I mean? I would have definitely changed what I was looking for in life.
Yeah, wow.
So hindsight's a motherfucker, you know? Like, you think this is the worst possible thing that could ever happen, you know, until you're 12 months on the other side of it. And then there's something probably in between that was worse than that again. So you never know.
Wow. So the views, bro, would have been, what, up around how many views?
It was close to 10 mil. So it was like 9.8 when I went to sleep. And they were clocking about 1 million a day.
Wow. That's crazy, brother.
I don't even have the analytics to prove it because they pulled it all off Spotify and done all that fucking crazy shit. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It's a yarn, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, you believe it or you don't, but the ones that were there know, you know.
Yeah, cool.
And when all our UK viewers tap in, you remember my mug. I know you fucking remember my mug, and we coming back, baby. We coming back.
So there you go, fans. Around the world, Brother Spice is coming back to the music game.
That's
100.
it. 12 tracks. Over 12 months, the last Friday of every motherfucking month. Go run it up. Spice on all major platforms. That's what you know.
Brother Spice, tapping in back to your music life. How many songs and how many albums have you done?
Never done an album. You know, I could probably piece together one out of the old stuff that I've done. But from producing, because I started producing with Beyond Therapy, making beats and recording with them, you know, so I guess there's probably close to 50 to 60 songs out there floating around. You know what I mean? There's another big track that me and Beyond Therapy did called Amphetamines. And that went pretty big in the jail circuit. You know, it was back when CDs were getting passed around, you know. That got pretty big. But apart from that, yeah, there'd be about 40 solid ones and then probably another 20 freestyle, you know, clips just banging around out there somewhere, you know.
Just talking on CDs, bro. Coming back one day. My brother's back home. Shout out to those 6. Shout out to all the 06 family. From the Hawke's Bay. I know that our brothers did used to pass their CDs around.
It was the ways back then, you know.
Not only the 06 too, brother, I got some brothers that grew up back home in Flaxmere too. Shout out to the 2K brothers. They used to pass their music around too. And a lot of the brothers used to tell me, Tmac, don't give these songs out to everyone. And I never really did. But I used to own this car, bro. I used to own this car. It was a WRX, was a white one. And this was back in my younger day when I was like between, I guess, 18 to 22.
The wonder years, eh?
And those days, bro, were so much of my dark time. So much of my dark time, man. But those were the one things, bro, I used to hold on to was those CDs. No, anyone knows this from back home. Don't touch the CDs inside the Rex. If you wanted them, you'd have to go and ask these fellas for this
copy,
music.
go ask for a copy.
Yeah, hard.
We were the same, you know. We'd only hand out certain, you know, stuff to certain people because we knew they were the people that would go to the parties and play the CDs, you know what I mean? Where it's, like going back in the day as a kid, you know, like we were just really making music to try to sound cool, you know what I mean? Like, let's go and do a run here and give me all your drugs, cunt. You know, that was the chorus to this shit. So it was like, why would you glorify that to the youngins around you? You know what I mean? And that's what I was saying. Like, I guess when you're asking if that was normalized, it is when that's all you know and that's what you grow up around, you know. And if that's the people you look up to, then that's the people you look up to, you know. Like, if my uncles were lawyers, you know what I mean, I would have grown up to be a fucking lawyer because I thought they were the man. They were cool. You know, Dad wasn't around, so the uncles in my life were like, "Oh, I see you. I'm going to do that."
100, brother. 100. Brother Spice, what's your message for music for the young kids today?
Don't stop. Don't stop. Just keep going. Release it, release it, release it. When you find what works and what people love from you, replicate that and just double the fuck down. And then don't stop. Just keep fucking going. Don't be afraid to message people. Don't get caught up in what anyone else is doing. Just keep fucking going. That's about the biggest message I could give to people about music.
Man, brother. Brother Spice, I want to ask you a question about mindset, brother.
Yo.
Why is it so important and why we should have it in our day-to-day lives and why is it so powerful and a concept?
It's a heavy question, bro. I guess we'll break it down, right? Because there's a couple of key points I'll touch on. Mindset is going to get you through the losses, you know, because it's very easy to stay positive through the wind and, you know, hold on to that negative is much heavier than anything of the positive, you know what I mean? So you have to learn how to flip your mindset to learning that when you're down, it's just a wait time for you to go back up. You know what I mean? And if you don't get your mindset right, like that's just how I set myself. However, you know, you want to set yourself is however, but for me personally, my mindset is everything. So if I feel, you know, weak or, you know, fucking distracted, I'll just go back to the basics and reassess what the mindset is for me, you know, like what's the goal? So you have to know where you want to go before you set your mindset for something, right? Because your mindset's not your morals, it's not your emotions, it's not logic, it's not, you know, spirituality or anything like that. Your mindset is your individuality manifest, right? So if you set your mindset to knowing that you're a winner and you start speaking positive words and you know, all these positive things come from you, then you'll find that the negatives don't really impact you as much. Well, for myself anyways. And that's why I think mindset's lacking in the youth because everybody wants that instantaneous gratification. You know what I mean? Everybody wants it right now. And if it doesn't happen that way, then people tend to fall short. So you need to set your mindset to a point where you know that regardless of the outcome that you are who you are and you can't give up, you know, that's why we go back to that never giving up stuff, you know, because that's all part of my mindset. You just never give up. Even if you lose, you know, fall down 10, get up 11. Like it's just never quitting. And that's the mindset I lock in for myself.
So never quitting, brother, is never quitting in today's society for all of us?
Oh, bro, look, I don't think it's for everybody. You know what I mean? And that's why I said, you know, however you set your mindset is however you set your mindset. You can definitely be beating a dead horse, you know what I mean? Like trying to push a bad idea too far, you know, but it's in business, you've got to break it down to what your goal is. Again, everything is goal orientated and you reverse engineer your goal in backward steps. So let's just say for a rule of averages, you want to make $1 million. So how are you going to make that $1 million? Are you going to exchange your time for money? Then you're locked into, then you have to make a certain amount of money per hour, right? Because there's only so many hours in a day and only so many days in a year. So if you want to make $1 million that way, you have to know that what your time is worth is close to like, I don't know, I think it's something like $2,000 a day or something crazy like that to get you to $1 million, you know, in revenue. So that's what you'd be getting paid from somebody. Or if you want to make $1 million another way, you've got to sell $1 million worth of products. So that's either like $10,000 lots, you know, or, you know, you just run it back in however much you've got to sell. So depending on what your product is, you'll know that say you're selling something at $20, you know that you have to sell. Well, let's do it easily. The easy maths, 100. So say you want to make $1 million, you're selling a product for $100, you've got to sell 12,000 units to make $1 million.
Yeah, wow.
Right?
Wow.
So I say, all right, I want to make $1 million. Now I know I have to figure out what product I'm going to sell 12,000 times at $100 each. Once you figure that out, then you have to go back to your market and go, all right, now who's going to buy this? Right? Who's going to buy this thing that I'm selling for $100? And how am I going to market that to these people? Because again, if you go to the unknown unknowns, people just don't know you're out there selling shit. You know, you can't just start selling something and people go, oh, yo, I know where to go.
Yeah,
you have to put yourself out there with that type of stuff. So when you reverse engineer the problem and have a goal in mind, you start to have a lot more chance of success, higher success rates. You know, it's nothing far out of the imagination. You know, when you start just going, I want to make $1 million without knowing how, you'll fall short nearly every time.
Yeah, wow.
But when you know how to,
wow.
you start cracking on and getting stuff done. And even if you don't make $1 million, you might make 500. And that's not bad.
Yeah. Well, I can say this funny. I've never made $1 million before, but I want to be like Spice. I want to have that main goal driven to not have money. Money is not a
Money's never the goal here.
Nah.
And like, let's touch on that. You know, that's, you know, because your mindset can be something that twists you against the main goal, you know? And people get money as the mindset. I've got to make money. I've got to make money. I've got to make money. Well, what are you making money for?
My goal set, Brother Spice, is to be happy and have a purpose. And my purpose is doing this podcast, is giving people a spot to talk freely and safely.
Community, right?
Community.
Sense of purpose.
So that's my big driven mindset, is to take the podcast to the world.
See, so you've already got your goal in mind. So money's not the option here, but money's the main tool to get there, right? Yes, so what you need to understand is if you separate the two, you use money more as a tool and you start to gravitate more towards your life of what you're manifesting, because for one to work, they have to go in tandem, right?
Yep.
You can't just go, okay, I'm going to live my dream life and you need money to do that, unfortunately. Yep. Unless you, like, even if you want to go live off grid, you still have to buy your house that's off grid.
Yeah, okay.
You know, the system is that well designed that you need money to get by. So once you get money, you use it for freedom. Money's freedom. You know, it's not just to have money to say you have money. What's the point of having money just to say you have it, unless you're using it correctly?
Yeah, well.
You know, like, my biggest rule is don't buy something unless you can buy it twice.
Yeah, wow. Wow. And that's awesome to hear from you, Brother Spice, because Brother Tmac is learning as he's going with this, and he's learning about these tools of direction with money, direction to save money, direction to use money. And we're saying that too, brother, I'm learning from you today about powerful mindsets. Bro, you're an inspiration to me, brother.
No, I appreciate it,
I thank you for giving that information, not only to me, but to all of us.
And it's because of people like you that I feel blessed enough to be able to give to. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it falls on deaf ears.
Yeah,
so it's a bit of waste of energy, you
know? Brother, hard. Bro, and saying this on top of mindset, why is it a powerful tool for not only our children, brother, but for adults too? Yeah. Why should they use it as well?
I guess because until you've set your mind right, you can't you can't hold yourself accountable until your mind's right, and you'll always look to place blame somewhere. And if you're placing blame, then you're never going to get anywhere, because you're never going to better yourself, right? So if you take accountability, then you have room to grow. But if you're constantly have this mindset of, fucking, I've done this, I've done 1, 2, and 3. Why am I not getting to 4? Well, that's probably because you're skipping a step somewhere. You think you've done 1, 2, and 3. You know what I mean? But you've probably done 1, 4, and 8.
Yeah, well.
You know what I mean? You've skipped the points that lead you to a stability point. And that's where your mindset kicks in. Because if you don't have a solid mindset and stay true to your core ideals and what your goal is, you'll falter. You'll just start going all over the place, and there's no real traction in the wheels, you know? Like, I know plenty of people that try so hard, right? They got work ethic, they're trying so hard, but they're just spinning their wheels and getting nowhere. They're putting all the effort into the wrong areas. And that's where mindset will take over and start putting you in the right places. Because once you get your mindset right, you'll realize that the people you're hanging out with aren't the people you need to be hanging out with.
Bro, so dead true.
Right? So your mindset will dictate who you hang around with. And that's why, I guess, going back to, is it normalized? Is it this? Is it that? Well, yes, it is, because your mindset starts to become like the mindset next to you. You know,
100.
That's why it's so important for adults to set their mindset right, so they learn how to be able to teach it to their children. But their children will learn in default growing up around that, it's just what you know.
So, fams, talking along this lines with Brother Spice, mindset is a powerful tool. Use it, fams. Use it out there.
100%.
Because Brother Spice here being sitting next to me, he's an intelligent person. Not only is he intelligent, but he has come from, the past struggles, the past steps. and having him on here with his podcast about his story and sharing what mindset is about. We all need it, fans. We all need it. So if you're listening in to this channel and you're listening to us talking about our lives, talking about the bro's life, we want you fellas to build that powerful mindset. We can do anything if we put our minds to it. Is that
100%.
true, Brother Spice?
100%. If you want a little mantra to take away, because you're not exactly sure how to set your mindset or like how to just get set in that right mind space, just know that if it's easy, it won't be worth it, and if it's worth it, it won't be easy. All right, and it's that easy money is never going to be worth it in the long run. And if to all my people out there that are coming from nothing, right? That don't have, what they think is a means to make something happen. It doesn't matter where you come from, because trees and grass start at the same place, but they don't hang out for very long. You know what I'm saying? So remember where you come from, but just know that where you come from does not dictate where you will end up. Okay, so you can
100%.
escape the trap. You can go out and do your own stuff. You just have to do it on your own and never give up. Once you start, you just go.
100%.
That's the biggest point. So just set your mindset to knowing that when you want it, it will come. Like, you have to want it more than you want to breathe. And when you want it more than you want to breathe, you will succeed.
100. Brother Spice, we're over here in Kingston, where you grew up, brother.
Sure.
In this area. Shout out to Samurai's Kitchen for allowing us to come here and be a part on their premises. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Brother Hori. Thank you, Sister Rika. We appreciate it from the rival Tmac family and from Spice.
Right.
Finally, I'm sitting next to a brother who's come out of the traps of Logan and built a business for himself. Brother, can you please topic on one of your businesses?
Yeah, so I guess to link it all back, when I hurt myself at work and got on the work cover thing, I started looking at a few things on how to make money, because I really didn't want to go back to work for anybody else. And I met my first American bully, in person. I'd always seen him on Instagram and stuff, and like my family background is bred Rottweilers, American Pit Bull Terriers, mixed breeds. There's been dogs in and out of the family forever, ever since I can remember. There's always been a red nose around or something. And I met this American bully down the coast, and I was like, that's impressive. I'm getting one, And then I started doing my research, and I looked into it, and not many people knew what they were. So there's a high price tag on them, Like we spend about 10 grand on each of our dogs, and I got about 7 to 8 of them. So we we got our first dog, Miss Juicy, and then I really just founded in, and we founded Royal Bullies Australia. And then I realised that everyone in Australia that had a kennel was Royal something, so we changed it to Ill Figure Kennels, and that's what we are today, is Ill Figure Kennels. We've been doing it for over half a decade now. We're the premier American bully breeder here in Australia. Everything from pockets, XLs, double XLs. We specialise in feeding, training, whelping, all that stuff. So we started off basically just getting into the community, starting shows, getting social meets together, because, again, I didn't know very much about who was out there, what was what. So I figured the best way to do it was to bring everyone together. You want something done? You gotta do it yourself,
And bro, these dogs that you have,
yes.
How much are they, brother?
So we spend 10 grand per dog. Depending on the pedigree, the lineage, if they have show champion stuff behind them, they can go up. Import dogs from America might set you back anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000. Over here on the higher end, we sell some of our first pick animals for around 20,000, and then pets start at about 5 to 7. So
wow.
They're not your everyday dog, If you're looking for a dog just to get and love it while it's a puppy and chuck it in the backyard, this isn't for you. The comparison that I like to use is, if you were to buy a brand new Toyota, you're more than likely, once it's aged out after a year, so it's not a puppy, you're more than likely to leave that out in the sun and let it get dirty and, all those types of things. Put a bit of, E10 in there every now and again, you know what I'm saying? But if you bought yourself a Lamborghini, even after a year, That's coming inside. You're putting cover on it. You're putting top price gas in it. You're cleaning it. All that shit. That's what an American bully is in the comparison in the back end. You know what I mean? If you want a Staffy, go get a Staffy. That's where your Toyotas and your Mace Ranger models sit. You know, that's basically they run on kibble and water. You know, but these American bullies are a pedigree above the rest. They demand like respect when they walk into a room. They're bred for companion animals. So if my boy was here, he'd be sat here. You know, like right here on my heel. They're just the best animal that you could ever come
I've
across.
learned something, bro, coming to the dog show where I first met you.
Yeah.
And I've learned from Native Blood Bullies. Shout out to Native Blood Bullies. They told me about autism, about a brother.
Yes.
And I'm going through the stage with my son. I have just had my son diagnosed with autism level 3. And what I found out about the bullies is that they're really good dogs, bro, for autistic children, eh?
They're companion bred and raised around children, so they know when something's not right. So if anything's out of the ordinary, they know to go and comfort the kid or maybe alert somebody. Do you know what I mean? And like the way that they look might scare and intimidate people, right? But at the end of the day, that's what I like. I like a dog that looks like a scary dog, you know? But in the back end of it, they are very good with kids. Like we've sold to clients that have had non-responsive children that are non-verbal. They've had a dog. They've got dogs from us, and inside of 12 months, they now talk to the dog.
Wow.
You know, so we do a lot of in-house training with our pups before they go out to make sure that they're very social with small kids. So I've got 2 daughters now. That's 1 and 2, and I've got another one on the way. So from puppies, they're in there holding the puppies. They know the smell of children. They know how children act. You know, sometimes kids move a bit fast, you know, X, Y, Z. My daughter, we think we haven't had anything, you know, come through yet, but we think she might be slightly there, you know, but, she responds well to the dogs. Do you know what I mean? Like if she's having a bit of an episode, you know what I mean? One of the dogs will come in and she's like, "Oh, my honey," you know, instant out of the mood. You know the moods, bro. And yeah, they're really great for that. So if anything, you know, when we seen this stuff with these dogs, you know, it was no brainer for me to lock in and really start to want to better the breed and start to, you know, lock in some championships and really establish ourselves apart from the rest of the kennels, you know.
Brother Spice, I want to topic to you, brother, on another business of yours, a special business that I know of and that you've shared with me. Brother, can you topic on that business, please?
Yeah, so it all sort of happened around the same time, you know. In business, it's good to sort of throw your cords where you can, and whatever plugs in is whatever, you know, you go with. Luckily for me, both of them landed. So we started the dogs. And I knew that was going to be a slow 2-year burn until we got some money coming in.
Yeah, well.
And I hurt my shoulder, like I said, at work. Work cover sent me to a whole heap of doctors, and I was in a lot of pain. It would dislocate like 7 to 8 times a day. Medical cannabis. And I was like, legally? Like, because, you know, your boys always smoke trees. You know, I love trees. Like, when I say I'm clean, I don't do any hard ACAS narcotics. This is now legal. This is not classed as A1 substance unless you are not prescribed, right? If you're not prescribed, then it's still a drug, but I'm prescribed, so it's not.
Wow. Wow, brother.
So I found that out, and I was like, how the fuck? How? And I done my research, you know. Like with anything, like I said, you know, once you lock in, you just get in. You know, any way that you can. And I started researching it. I started talking to the guy that I was getting my stuff from at the pharmacist, you know, a little bit of brain picking here and there. I don't think he was really suspecting that I was stealing his business ideas. Yeah, they gave us a lot of sauce, and I just basically looked in and I was like, I can do this. So my partner had some, you know, we had some money. We got the dogs, and then we took our last $10,000 that we had, and we put that in, and we started Medi Relief, Australia's first 100% online cannabis clinic. From phone call to front door was our motto.
Wow.
So we have doctors in every state, pharmacy partners in every state, and then we also have a manufacturer's license coming through where we're going to start manufacturing gummies and cannabis in-house in Australia so we don't have to import. So our whole goal here with our cannabis company is to keep our profits inside of Australia. At the end of the day, my ethnicity doesn't dictate where my loyalties lie. I was born and raised here, so I'm going to stay where I stood, you know. I don't tend to want to run away and do anything anywhere else. So I'm going to give back to my community and just stand tall in our economy. Do you know what I mean?
Wow. Bro, with your clinic, how did you get into it? Like,
Google.
wow.
If you want the source on it, I Googled it, man.
Wow.
Like, I think in 2025, if people don't realize that they're part Android, they're stupid. You know, if you don't have a smartphone, what have you got? A dumb phone. And do you have a dumb phone?
That's
no,
right.
you don't. You have a smartphone, and people need to start realizing that you can use it as such. If you start to use technology to your leverage point, you'll increase your IQ by leaps and bounds.
Hard. I've only just started to use my brain on it too as
exactly.
well.
So using the right stuff, technology, you can increase your IQ by 30 to 40 points.
Right, definitely. 100 to that.
Like, it's crazy the stuff you come away with. So for me, I just started Googling things, you know. I'm like, can I open a medicinal cannabis clinic? Yes. What do I need to do that? Oh, only these things. How do I do these things? And you just set process in play. You write up a plan. Like I said, you reverse engineer it. I said, how much money do I want to make this year? We've been kicking since 2022.
So you are the only Polynesian clinic at the moment? Or
I'm the only Polynesian clinic at the moment, yes.
Wow. That's crazy. And thank you for sharing that, brother. Because I don't have anything against marijuana or nothing like that, but I do support though our children not going amongst that.
Yes, no, 100%.
I don't want to see our children getting amongst it.
It's a time and a place. And again, it's not for everybody. Everybody's endocannabinoid system is very different. It's identical like your fingerprint. So what works for me is not going to work for you.
Yeah,
and what works for you is not going to work for me or the next person. 100. So when it comes to plant medicine, you have to really almost explore it to where you want, you know. So when we came in, it was very, you know, linear. You know, you can only give these scripts for this. You know, if you want something else, you have to go back and see the doctor and get more scripts. So we figured out a point to where we could do open scripting to prescribe flower between a certain percentage range. So say between 12 to 22, and then another gap range from 22 to 30, and then from 30 and above. So we'd run open scripts on that. And what that would do is, because not everybody wants to get blown away, you know what I mean, on 30% THC. So a lot of people will medicate for different reasons. What we found is that professionals will medicate to sleep. So we have a lot of working class professionals that don't want to go into shop and be seen, you know, obtaining their medicine. So the whole phone call, front door, it's a beautiful process. So what stopped us in the first place is we were going to open up a shop like this. And, you know, have everybody come to us. But that limited the business possibilities of where I could funnel business from. So I decided to take away the overheads, cheapen the business up, made it much more doable, and we ran it online. And it just so happened that, you know, COVID kicked off around exactly the same time. People couldn't go anywhere. People still needed their meds. So here we are.
Wow, that's crazy, bro.
Timing.
Can I ask the question, what would be the magnitude of it all, amount-wise?
In what way? So far?
So far.
Oh. Yeah, we're hitting 6 easily, monthly.
Wow. There you go, finding family. Hey, whatever is out there in the world that you can put your mind to something that you can reach to. I'm not saying go and get a cannabis clinic either. I'm saying,
hey, if you want to, go hard. Go try. Give it a go.
I'm not saying that for our younger viewers either. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is that
if anything, I would actually encourage all of our younger viewers to have a look at a cannabis clinic, because it's legal and you're actually helping people get something that is a cleaner product than stuff that's grown on the streets. So let's just touch quickly on the quality control that medical cannabis now has in Australia. And this was the main reason that I like to jump on it, because on the street, you're going to get stuff that's grown with PGR, which is a plant growth regulator. It comes in out of all different types of places and grown in all sorts of whatnot. It has nearly 40 to 30 times more particulates per million than anything else that's coming out of a medicinal purpose. So when it's coming out of a medicinal set, it's grown in a lab, strictly monitored, tested, regulated. everything,
Wow.
right? It's not just here's your weed in a
Wow.
container and sell it out of a pharmacy. It is
Wow.
regulated to a T. So I would advise that if you have been self-medicating for a very long time from this street shit, and you've started to find yourself getting anxious and it's not for you, it's not the cannabis, it's what is in the cannabis. And it's back to allergies as well, to food. It's not what the food is, it's what is your food eating? That's what's triggering the back end causes of all this stuff. So when you break it back down, I'm not encouraging people to go and get onto medical cannabis if you don't need it. But if you're self-medicating all day, every day anyway, go and get fucking legal. It's a no-brainer, you know? And if you're looking at the business side of it, I guarantee all the young viewers know at least 4 to 5 dealers.
Yeah, 100.
If you know 4 to 5 dealers, then a cannabis clinic is probably for you, because you could scoop that mainstream top fucking flow of people and send them into a legal point and then funnel that into direct money that can no longer be taken from you.
Yeah, 100.
And now you're legal. So
100.
it's not glorifying a drug. It's more bringing a medication to the people in a proper way.
Yes.
And getting rid of the stuff that's no longer good for you and causing the schizophrenic breakdowns inside of society, because everyone knows someone that goes...
And mental labour.
Exactly, the mental breakdowns. It's like everyone knows someone that went crazy from smoking too much weed. Yeah, well, what weed was it? And how much? Do you know what I mean? Because if you're smoking stuff that's full of plant growth regulator, I can guarantee you're going to go a little bit loopy.
Yeah, hard.
Whereas if you're smoking something that's a lot cleaner, like if you smoke medicinal cannabis, you wake up in the morning and you're fine.
Yeah, 100.
So for me to medicate, I have a piece of paper that says that I can drive because I only medicate at night. So from nighttime, from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock, I don't drive because I've had my meds, right? I'm having my medication today, but I'm not driving, so I can do that. Do you know what I mean?
100.
But in the fact of it is, as long as I'm not under the influence, then there's nothing that can happen. Australia's in a very big grey area now when we talk about cannabis, because there's a sobriety test that needs to happen, because my level of intoxication compared to somebody else's level of intoxication from one puff of this pen can vary so very much. Now, you don't smoke very much, but if you had one puff of this, you'd be whacked. You wouldn't be able to drive.
Yes.
I've been puffing on this, here and there.
I don't want to.
No, I'm just saying, but I've been puffing on this here and there, and I'm still perfectly capable to drive. In myself, I know that I'm not delayed or impaired at all. I'm just medicated.
Yeah.
Right? There's a point where you can abuse your medication and then you definitely can't drive.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? But the laws now say that if you have anything in your system, you can't drive. So for me, what I'll say is that, okay, I medicated at this point last night. I've been asleep now. It's nearly been 12 hours since my last consumption. I'm a cannabis user, so it's now built up in my endocannabinoid system. If you swab me, I can guarantee you that it's going to come up positive, but I'm not under the influence. Yeah. Yes, it is in my system, but I am no longer under the influence of cannabis. And that is the conversation that you have to have with police. I actually enjoy being pulled up by them now, because I'll blow them away. They're like, have you got any drugs or guns or thing in the car? I'm like, yep. See their face when you tell them, yes, sir, I do.
How does that work for you, bro?
Have a look. There you go.
How does that work for you when they come?
They blow out, because the cops are still figuring it out that it's legal now. You know what I mean? I hand them my paperwork and I say, you try to take you try to take my medication off me. When we have our day in court, you're not going to have a very nice time, because you've just taken my medication away from me. Wow. It's not a drug. You've taken my medication. And what qualification do you have to tell me that that's not medication?
Wow.
You know? So it's wild, wild west out there. You know what I mean? So look, if you want to look into cannabis, I would suggest it. You know what I mean?
I know that cannabis is starting to become a big thing around the world. Definitely. But I also know that some NBA players are starting to use it, like Kevin Durant and all that.
Yeah, 100%.
And I seen an interview with him not so long ago about talking about it. And it did change my mind on certain things, because you don't really see many, I guess, people that are on cannabis or something like that.
Be successful, right?
Yeah. Or you don't really hear of them doing out of it things. But I know with people that are drinking alcohol or taking...
I think this is going to make you more of who you are, regardless of what it is. So if you're lazy, you're going to be more lazy when you smoke weed. Like if you're naturally out there getting after it, this isn't going to stop you from getting after it. You know what I mean? It's when you abuse it. Like everything within moderation. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to sit there and smoke till you're fucking railed. Like that's drug abuse.
Yeah, hard.
So there's a point between medicating and drug abusing. Do you know? And I don't know any successful people that abuse drugs.
Yep.
Do they use them? Yeah. Life's short. You get one, right? So do what you got to do, but everything in moderation.
Yeah,
everything in moderation.
And I've got no judgment to those people there too.
Yeah, 100%.
No judgment.
Like, coming from where I come from.
I grew up around it.
Yeah, exactly, bro. How can you say anything, you know?
Brother Spice, with your clinic, how much promotion have you done for it?
None. It's very hard with the government. So you can't do any advertising that leads direct back to consumption. So that's what stops a lot of clinics. So they're popping up all over the place ever consistently since we started doing our thing. So when I started, there was nothing to go off. There was no blueprint, and the government was very sort of laid back on, you know, who got in and how.
Wow.
Now that I've got in, I'm a pioneer. I've sort of got the leniency, and I get told what's happening, and I make it happen. So, in that sense, you know, it's very much get up and get after it, you know, because if you wait for permission, you're generally going to be too late.
Yeah, wow.
So when we started, we done a lot of research, and it was going to cost us close to like $125,000 to open a doctor's surgery, you know, with all the licensing, blah, blah, blah. And then with COVID, you know, that was going to cripple us. So I'm like, oh, well, we might as well give up, you know, but I'd already done everything. And then I was like, I literally sat there and I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not giving this in, you know, like it was like one of the first things that ever made me think, fuck, maybe I can't do this, you know? And then, like I said, you got to lock back in, go back to basics, remember why you're doing it, and get back after it. And I'm glad I did. I'm very glad I did, because we ended up coming through the other side of it successful at it, you know. So we started the online thing out of desperation, and it turned into our greatest savior. Yeah,
wow, that's crazy. So, fams, I've met Spice the second time now, and knowing that he is a business owner, he has inspired me to become a business owner one day in one of my lives. So thank you very much, Brother Spice, for sharing this with us.
Too easy, brother. I
appreciate that. Brother Spice, we're topicking on a topic, brother. For you as yourself and your family, where do you see your father selves, brother, in 5 years' time?
5 years' time, I shall have, we'll be a family of, 5? Wish to own a couple of houses, probably get into real estate next. And just at this point, I feel like I've skipped a lot of the unnecessary shit, you know, like I'm comfortable, I'm happy, you know, like there's only so much that I want to do in life before it becomes a task. So in 5 years, I'm hoping for a lot more of the same, just with, you know, a couple of properties in between, you know what I mean?
Yeah, nice.
Slow raise my children, which is I'm blessed to do, you know, working for myself from home.
Brother Spice, this is the end of our podcast, my bro, with the 1963 Belair and the Ridewood Tmac. Brother, we got a thing on our podcast where we want to inspire our younger generation from not only in New Zealand, but here in Australia too, here in Logan. Bro, what is your key messages to our younger viewers that may watch this? Or what is our key inspiration to people for inspiration?
Oh, heavy questions, brother. First of all, thank you for having me. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be here, to be able to share my story with everybody. Yeah, it's been a trip. For the message, I just want everybody to know that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what your mum did, what your dad does, what your ancestors are up to. All that matters is where you want to go and what you're up to. It's a different time, it's a different age. If you've got a smartphone, I want you to use it properly. Get off the scrolling, even though I know you're scrolling and watching us right now, but use this as this point to take off. Get off Instagram after you finish watching this, YouTube, whatever it is, and get on Google and Google something. Figure it out. Get your scraps up and never quit. Make sure once you get in, you just keep going, and then you're inevitable. That's all I have to say to everyone, man. Just keep going, keep at it, and never give up. And when you get that mindset locked in, you'll win.
From there, fams, the Ridewood Tmac would like to say a very thank you very much, Brother Spice, for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you, brother.
We love it. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
To all our viewers out there, come and click in, come and follow, come and leave those comments.
Yeah, like, share, subscribe, and make sure you get in the
Everything.
comments. Tell the bros who you want on next. It's not hard. Just get in there, tell them what you want, maybe a subject, something. Tell us something. Even the stupidest shit I've said today. Tell me you hate my guts. I don't care. Let's run it up. And if you don't already, follow me on Instagram. Spice on all platforms, baby. Peace.
100. Right with Tmac. That's what's up.
Shit, boy, you weren't